the New York area to report on this congressman who surrendered to authorities. He was arrested, processed in central Islip, New York. That's right outside New York City. He'd already been accused of lying about virtually every aspect of his life. His family, his education, his employment. Federal prosecutors say he spent thousands of dollars in campaign donations on personal expenses, including designer clothing and credit card payments. Also charged with illegally receiving unemployment benefits during the pandemic, even though he was employed at the time. Prosecutors also charging him with lying to the House on his financial disclosures. For months now, many New York Republicans have been calling for Santos to resign. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has not done so. In fact, the Republican leader just today saying the charges are concerning, but he is not calling on Santos to step down. Bit of a surreal scene playing out as George Santos leaves the courthouse. Aaron Katersky, who has covered the case. Aaron, very hard to tell it for us.
What are you doing? Get out. Get back. Today we're going to have the opportunity. There's no way to get to the podium. Today we're going to have the opportunity.
Let's listen to Santos.
There's no way. Jody, where is this podium?
Let him go to the podium. Let's go to the podium. Make the home. Make the home.
Look, if you guys don't behave, there's no way you're going to get information back to the people. So if you make way and act like, civilized people, I know you all are. I know a lot of you by first name. We talk all the time. Let's get to the podium, make some space, and then we'll address. Can you all agree? Make some space. There you go. Look at that. I'll address you guys, but let's get to the podium.
Go. Come on, let's move over to the podium. Come on, everyone.
There you have it, a plea from George Santos that reporters allow him the space to at least make it to the podium so he can talk publicly for the first time since being arrested this morning by federal authorities. Again, multiple counts. He was read the summary of the charges by that magistrate judge. And as I mentioned earlier, he was asked, are you aware of your rights? Are you aware of what's included in this indictment? And the answer was yes, ma'am, in court. It was a total of 10 minutes. He has left the courtroom, no ankle bracelet or monitoring device. We are told, though he is out on bond. He can travel between the New York area and Washington to represent his district, walking to the podium now where he's expected to make a statement.
All right, you want to address them too? Well, you're in front of me. All right. We made it here. Look at this. All right, so I know you all have questions.
Come a little closer. Come a little closer.
I know you all have questions. I know that everybody's been waiting for the moment for me to come out and talk to you guys. Look, this is the beginning of the ability for me to address and defend myself. We have an indictment. We have the information that the government wants to come after me on, and I'm going to comply. I've been complying throughout this entire process. I have no desire not to comply at this point. They've been gracious in there. Now I'm going to have to go and fight to defend myself. The reality is it's a witch hunt, because it makes no sense that in 4 months, 5 months, I'm indicted. You have Joe Biden's entire family receiving deposits from nine family members receiving money from foreign destinations into their bank accounts. It's been years of exposing. A lot of you here have reported on them, and yet no investigation is launched into them. I'm going to fight. I'm getting back to that. I'm going to fight my battle. I'm going to deliver. I'm going to fight the witch hunt. I'm going to take care of clearing my name, and I look forward to doing that. Now, hold on.
What do you say to that?
I would like the opportunity for some of you guys to ask some questions in an orderly fashion, and we'll start right here. Go ahead, Rachel.
Santos, why would you apply for unemployment benefits when you had a job making $120,000 a year?
Rachel, this is part of my defense. This is inaccurate information, and I will get to clear my name on this. During the pandemic, it wasn't very clear. I don't understand where the government's getting their information, but I will present my facts.
Prosecutors say that you got prosecutors say that you got over $20,000 in unemployment benefits, sir. How is that acceptable?
Ma'am, like I said, my employment was changed during the time. I don't understand where the government's coming from. I'll present my defense.
And one last follow-up, Congressman George Santos.
What evidence do you have that they don't have?
Breaking news now on 13 on your side.
Good afternoon. I'm Kirk Montgomery. We are interrupting normal programming for breaking news. Yet another gun has been confiscated from a child at an elementary school, and it was loaded. This time, that gun was found inside a third grader's backpack at Stocking Elementary School in Grand Rapids. This is the fourth time this school year a gun has been confiscated from a student this year. Now, the Grand Rapids Police Department and Grand Rapids Public School officials are about to hold a press conference. It appears as if they're about to start any moment, and we will listen in when they do begin. This is happening outside of the outside administration building, so let's listen in.
Superintendent Dr. Ladrian Roby. You'll hear from our Chief of Staff and Executive Director of Public Safety, Larry Johnson, the Police Chief of Grand Rapids, Eric Windstrom, and the Mayor of our city, Rosalind Bliss. I'll turn things over to the Superintendent.
Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, everyone. Here we are again, and I will just say that I am frustrated, I'm sad, and I'm angry that this continues to happen. I want our young people in our schools and our families to know that we are trying to make sure that our schools are safe. This is a repeated occurrence that we have to get a hold of. What I will say is that we are enacting immediately, effective immediately, a backpack ban, and that is a drastic step, but we think it's a necessary step because we want to ensure the safety of not only our scholars, but our staff and our community. I think it's important that I acknowledge that it might cause some inconvenience for families, and that is not the intent. This is about safety for young people. This is about safety for our staff. This is about safety for our community. I just want to make sure we're putting our young people first, and our public safety team, as well as the Grand Rapids Police Department, is also addressing the issues, the specifics around that. And with that, I will turn it over to Chief of Staff, Larry Johnson.
Thank you, Dr. Roby. And it goes without saying, we are so thankful for our teachers, our scholars in the buildings that take safety and security very seriously. This morning at about 8:39, one of our scholars made a decision to bring a weapon into our schools, a loaded weapon. Now, we've been here before you, just over a week ago, we've stood before you. This is a crisis in our community. It's a crisis in this country, but we're more focused on what happens here in Grand Rapids right now. It is not acceptable, and we plead to our parents, our grandparents, aunts and uncles, those who are the caretakers of young people in this community, to begin to search their kids' book bags and check their rooms, particularly elementary kids, our middle school kids who have access to weapons. Parents need to lock their weapons up, secure their weapons, move ammunition away from weapons. We're standing today as a safety plea, and we're going to continue all we can do in the Grand Rapids Public Schools to keep our kids safe before we have a tragedy in this community. We have averted at least 2 tragedies in the last 2 weeks. We don't want to stand before you again. We do not want to stand before you again. Safety protocols work in our district. They work in all school districts when adults and scholars take them serious. And in this case, they were taken very serious. But also, parents have to play an important role in this because safety extends beyond the school steps. It extends into the home. It extends into our community. And our schools is a microcosm of this community. And if we want to have safe communities and safe schools, then we must actively work together to make that happen. So our plea and our call is to our parents, it's to our clergy, it's to all of our leaders and those that play an important role in the life of kids, that now is the time to step up before we have a tragedy in this community. This is unacceptable. We will not continue to tolerate it. And so we've got to do some things to adjust our safety protocols so that we can keep our scholars safe, keep our staff safe. Again, we thank our staff at Stocking Elementary School for following the safety protocols. We thank our scholars who went to a trusted adult upon noticing a weapon in a book bag immediately. But we also challenge our parents to make sure that they're doing more before that child leaves the home daily. We don't want to be before you again for this matter. Thank you for your time, and I'll turn it over to the Chief of Police.
First, I want to thank Dr. Roby, Executive Director Johnson, for the seriousness that they take in caring for our kids here in the city of Grand Rapids. And I want to reiterate something that the Executive Director just said, how close we were to a tragedy. Let me tell you how we avoided that tragedy. Is children, and I'm talking 7-year-olds and 8-year-olds, did the right thing and informed adults that they trusted about this dangerous circumstance. That's what avoided this. Decisions by 7 and 8-year-olds. What we need in the city of Grand Rapids is decision by adults in this city to be just as good as these 7 and 8-year-olds to make these decisions to do the right thing. Here's children, 7 and 8-year-olds, taking an interest when they see there is something dangerous in this backpack that could kill people in this room. I think it's important that the parents, that the mothers and fathers and mother figures and father figures in this town take just as great of an interest, a much greater interest, in looking at that backpack before it leaves the house. And whether your child is 8, whether your child is 18, take an interest in making sure that you take these guns out of your children's hands. Turn it over to the mayor.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just am here sharing the outrage that all of us feel today, and I'm grateful for all of the work happening here at GRPS to keep students in our schools safe every single day. The city is working closely in partnership with GRPS, but as they said, they cannot do it alone. The city cannot do it alone. We are investing in crime prevention efforts. We're investing in community safety efforts. We are investing in summer camps and youth employment, and we're working closely with the schools. But as the chief said, and as Dr. Roby said, and Mr. Johnson said, we can only do so much. Keeping our kids safe and keeping guns out of the hands of children, that is all of our responsibility. Every single community member, every single parent needs to step up and be a part of this solution. If we are going to have a safe community, and we are committed to being the safest city in the state, we have to work together to do that, and we have to keep guns out of the hands of children, especially if we're going to prevent a tragedy. So I stand here, the city is here to stand in solidarity with our school system to do everything we can together to keep kids safe, but we cannot do it alone. Dr. Roby.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to invite Chief of Staff Johnson to come forward and talk a little bit about our community forum that we will be having on the 20th of this month. We want to make sure the community is aware of that.
Yeah. So prior to this incident, we've had made a decision. We want to hear from our parents. We want to hear from our scholars, and so we're inviting our community out on Saturday, May 20th, between 1 and 3 o'clock at GRPS University, 1400 Fuller Northeast, to participate in a forum where we can solicit from them their ideals around school safety and security. We're in it every day, but we need to hear from our parents what they think we should be doing differently, continuing to do, or stop doing to keep our scholars safe, to keep this community safe. We're committed to that, and this is a first of series of summits and forums that we intend to have, not only with our scholars, but with our parents, because we want to have the safest school district in the nation. We believe we are up there, but we have some tweaking to do because we've had some setbacks here recently. So that's what we plan to do.
We'll take some questions. Taylor.
The backpack ban, so that's effective immediately, and how long? Do you have any idea, or is it just going to go indefinitely until?
Right now, we're going to go to right to the end of the school year. We want our leadership team, and listening to our scholars, we want to put some more meat on the bone, so to speak. We want to talk about it more to see what's the best approach for our kids. And if it means that we have to readjust and rearrange how we bring items into the schools, we're going to do that. Backpacks is a great hiding spot for contraband, and we want to remove those opportunities until we can get our hands around the decisions that young people are making right now.
What do you have to say to students and parents who are realizing that there was a second gun brought in within 2 weeks, one loaded? What do you have to say to the parents and kids who are scared right now?
I'm going to say to the parents in the community that are scared that the system is working. There's trust build up. We teach our young people, if you see a weapon, don't touch a weapon, run and tell an adult. That's what we teach them, and that's exactly what they did. So we hope that we can calm their fears by knowing our kids are listening, our scholars are listening, our staff is doing the right thing. We're training, we're talking, we're working with law enforcement. Now we throw it back to the parent seat to say, you've got to do what you have to do in your homes by checking under your mattresses, checking dressers, removing the opportunity for a youngster, a child, to get their hands on a gun. So we're trying to calm their fears by letting them know that we want to work with them, continue to work with them, to help keep and give them strategies to keep these weapons out of the hands of these children in this community.
As a school district talking to these kids, letting them know bringing a school or a gun to school is wrong?
Our kids know that it's wrong. Dr. Roby and I met a scholar this afternoon that saw the news conference just last week. They understand. They understand, and we know they understand because they're going to an adult when they see something wrong in the school. See something, say something, they're doing something. So they're going and telling an adult, and they're seeking help from adults, from their peers who make a bad decision. So the message is getting out there, but we've got to get the message out to everyone that attends the Grand Rapids Public Schools and those that impact us in the community.
Now, are you treating this student that brought the gun to school the same as you treated the last student who brought a gun to school?
We're going to continue with our disciplinary process. We're going to continue to work with families, and then we're going to let the legal aspect of this be taken care of with the Kent County Prosecutor's Office, the Police Department, and the juvenile authorities.
That backpack ban, how's that going to be enforced at the schools?
Well, with compassion, right? With much compassion, much consideration as we work with our kids. Many of us are parents, grandparents, we're parents of young ladies, and so we need to consider all those sensitive matters and how we can let things come into the school. But the main thing is we want to slow the tide right now, and we want to keep the backpacks out so we can remove the opportunity for another weapon to be in these schools through a backpack.
Is that going to be, the ban still going to be in place when the next school year starts?
Again, we're going to work through that over the summer. Our teams are going to come together. We're going to hear from our scholars. We're going to hear from our parents. And then we're going to make the best decision for the scholars of the Grand Rapids Public Schools.
Is there anything else on the table other than a backpack ban at this moment?
We have a multitude of security strategies that we're working through. We're enhancing our cameras. We have invested in secured entryways. We're looking at protective film. There's a multitude of things that you'll hear about on May 20th that we're trying to do. And there's some things that we want to hear that our parents think we should try. So we are trying a lot. Just this morning I was at the Homeland Security Conference of the school track with many of our school safety professionals from around the state and talking about this very thing and prioritizing what we think we need to be doing to keep our schools safe here in Michigan. But I'm more focused on what happens here in Grand Rapids.
What's going through your mind? This is the second time you've addressed us in 2 weeks. What emotions are going through you right now?
You don't even want to know the emotions right now. I'm frustrated. I'm upset. And I'm passionate about keeping our kids safe. I wish I can go in every household in the city limits of Grand Rapids and help every parent, every gun owner do a safety check of their house and secure those weapons. So I can't even expound on my frustration at this very moment. I'm happy that we didn't have a tragedy, but I'm frustrated that parents are not listening, and we need them to listen and secure these weapons.
What kind of weapon was it? You say it's a gun.
It's a handgun.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about how the gun was seen and by who and what happened afterwards?
The handgun was seen in a book bag. The book bag was dropped in the building. Another scholar realized, and picking it up, that it was heavier than it should have been, and reported that to an instructor who took immediate action, investigated more, and we discovered there was a weapon inside of that book bag.
Did this student ever have any prior issues with the school?
There are no threats and nothing in this particular student's history that would indicate they would bring a weapon to school.
Could the parents face charges? That might be a question.
Again, that's a question for the prosecutor's office. The police chief may be able to dig more into that. But personally, I hope they do, because we've got to do something to send a message to this community that is unacceptable.
Chief, you want to comment on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and I want to echo what's been said already. I'm frustrated. This is the second time we've been doing this in 2 weeks. And I'll tell you that from a week ago, that investigation is ongoing, but we should have information in the next couple days that we'll be delivering to the prosecutor, request for prosecution in that case. In this case, I do anticipate there'll be criminal charges. It is an ongoing investigation, but certainly no criminal charges against the 8-year-old. We're talking about a victim here. That child is a victim. And I am certainly thankful that we're not talking about other victims, because we're talking about a loaded semi-automatic handgun a bullet in the chamber. If you're familiar with that, it means any child that had picked up that bag, that manipulated the trigger, even through the bag, could have fired that handgun. It could have easily killed someone. So that 8-year-old is a victim. I'm just thankful that we're not talking about any other victims today.
Do you have any officers in the district inside the buildings?
We don't have officers inside the building, so GRPS security, we have a very good relationship with them. We're in constant communication. We did respond to this incident to recover the gun and do an investigation alongside them.
I'm sure you've talked to these students, but have either of the two said why they brought these guns to school?
I'm not at liberty to say what either the 8 or 7-year-old said because of how the juvenile law works, but we have had good discussions with the students, the witness students, the faculty. Everybody's been real cooperative. Everybody understands how serious this is and how it could have been a real tragedy averted.
And the parents of these juveniles
That's who, absolutely. Yeah, without getting into specifics, the questions that we're looking for is, number one, is this gun registered? Number two, is the gun a legal gun? Is there something? Is it a stolen firearm, perhaps? Is the adult who possessed this gun legally allowed to possess this gun? And then how did the child have access to the gun? So each one of those has a different element of criminal charges to it, depending on where the investigation leads us. And then something, as I mentioned last time we spoke, is that in a few months from now, this law is going to take effect, that there are laws exactly on point to allowing a child access to a handgun, whether loaded or not. And that's going to be an additional charge, but I'm very confident that there will be criminal charges in both these incidents, regardless.
Chief, is that how the tide is stopped and not just slowed? We just heard a moment ago we're trying to slow the tide. Is changes to laws and changes to safety, is that how we're going to?
Well, I think it's going to impact it, but I got to tell you, we just met like this a week ago. I would think that the press that we had around a 7-year-old walking into a school with a gun would have been enough that people would have seen that and be like, wow, adults in Grand Rapids, we really have to understand, like, take gun safety seriously. Lock up your guns. Keep your guns away from children. And the point wasn't made then. I'm hoping after this the point is made. But certainly with enhanced laws, that will give us a little more, at least from the enforcement action, and that will also send the point across.
A couple more questions, and we need to get to communicating with our families.
What's going through your mind today? What emotions are going through your mind?
Lots of emotions. I am not only an educator, I'm also a parent, and I'm a grandparent. And the thought of young people having to experience school this way breaks my heart. And as I was listening, I want to make sure that people understand this is not a zero-sum game for us. Everybody loses. I don't want to stand before you and talk about a young person who's been harmed because we as adults cannot seem to secure our weapons. That bothers me. And so it's not about pointing fingers at other people. It's about how do we do this collectively as a community. If we love our children, and I know that we do love our children, we've got to collectively do this work together and have individual as well as group accountability for safety of young people.
Have they thought at all about metal detectors in schools? I mean, is that a real drastic, option?
Yep, I think, again, Mr. Johnson can talk a little bit more about some of the mechanisms that we are putting in place, but I want to make sure that everybody understands this. Metal detectors are maybe a deterrent, but that's not going to solve the issue. It is a combination of things. And again, as I said, this is not a zero-sum game. And so parents have a responsibility, staff have a responsibility, young people have a responsibility, but most importantly, those who are gun owners, they have the greatest responsibility. If they take the charge of possessing a gun, they need to secure it to make sure it's not getting in the hands of a 7-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old. Because I don't want to ever live with that I was not responsible as an adult, that somebody was harmed because I didn't secure my weapon.
Now, on the flip side, how proud are you of these students for stepping up?
Very proud, and I agree with my colleagues as they said, it's our young people who have been leading the charge, and I think that's important, that the young people are getting the message and saying, this is not safe, I want my school to be safe. And so if the children are leading us, then we as adults, we need to step up and say, I want to make sure that this is a non-issue. And so I am very proud of those young people for seeing something and saying something.
All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And the backpack is a district-wide, not just...
And you have been watching live coverage of a news conference in Grand Rapids. Today, staff at Grand Rapids Public Schools confiscated a loaded gun from a third grader at Stocking Elementary. It was taken from the student's backpack. The child is no longer at that school. The headline from this press conference is effective immediately. A backpack ban is now in effect at Grand Rapids Public Schools until at least the end of the year. We heard from officials, we heard from the mayor telling us that the city cannot do this alone. Chief Winstrom obviously showing a lot of frustration, saying how close we were to a tragedy today. We also heard from Ledrian Roby saying that announcing this backpack ban is in effect immediately after a third grader, an 8-year-old, was found with a loaded semi-automatic handgun in their backpack. Now, this is the 4th time this school year a gun has been found inside a Grand Rapids public school. In October, staff at Burton Middle School removed a gun from a student's backpack along with a magazine and ammunition. Also at Burton Middle School in January, a loaded gun was taken from a student and the building was put on lockdown. And on May 3rd, just last week, a 7-year-old boy brought a gun to Cesar Chavez Elementary, but he did not have ammunition and did not make any threats. And then again today, this morning at 8:39 a.m., a loaded gun taken from a third grader at Stocking Elementary. We do have a crew working this story. We will have continuing coverage on our website, 13onyourside.com, and of course later today on 13 on Your Side starting at 5 o'clock. I'm Kirk Montgomery. We now return you to regular programming.
This has been a breaking news report from 13 on Your Side.